All right, NFL. If Monday night wasn't a decision to go to grass fields, I don't know what is. Your superstar, Aaron Rodgers, blows out his Achilles in his first game with the New York Jets, 4 plays into the game. Now, I can't put that solely on the turf alone, but maybe grass would have gave way so his cleat wasn't stuck in the ground. Maybe you'll listen to all the players who are actually playing the game instead of your science, who have to endure all these injuries, who have to endure all the pain that turf gives you. Now, I know there's a lot of back and forth with places like SoFi Stadium, whose stadium is built underneath. Like Pat McAfee said, you guys can figure it out. You're smart. It's $100 billion business. You got to figure this out because these players getting injured over and over and over again for things that probably can be avoided, like a grass field, should look into it for sure. If you could put AI robots in the stands at SoFi, you can figure out how to put grass inside. So, NFL, your baby, Aaron, is out for the year. And what other stadium did it happen at? MetLife, the same stadium it's happened numerous times. So get your shit together and let's start listening to the people that are playing this game and start understanding that they want grass. And you're a $100 billion company. Yeah, buddy, we're back here again for another Thursday. I'm going to just keep doing that because we're always going to be here every Thursday, no matter what. Rain, sun, snow, shine, whatever, turf or grass. Doesn't matter. We're going to be here. This is Cinco Squad. My name is Jonathan. We are my brothers, Trey Day, JMA, and Mike Abe. Fellas, happy Thursday. How is your Thursday going so far?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Ready for week 2 of football. Somehow.
We'll see how the football games go tonight.
I'm ready for dinner right now. Hungry.
Can't wait for Bird Gang to get their dub against the Minnesota Vikings tonight. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully they look better than they did last week. But I know what does look good are these jerseys that Mike and I have on here. Woo. And this is that Fans Idea jersey for everyone. That's right, fansidea.com, our affiliated partnership. Make sure you go get yourself 10% off. Cinco Squad 10. You can get baseball jerseys, hockey jerseys, any jersey you really want with your logo, your work logo, anything. So make sure you go there, fansidea.com. We'll put that in the description and go get yourself 10% off. We're always interested to hear what he has to, what he's thinking of. So, Mike, take it away with what's on your mind.
So, everybody knows that I'm a baseball fan, and there was a kind of a fact that I heard. I know it's surprise, me baseball. No.
And the baseball jersey.
Yeah, with 2 baseball jerseys behind me. But it was something interesting I heard from John Smoltz, Hall of Famer, former ace of the Atlanta Braves pitching staff. And that was this, and I couldn't believe it. And I'm, a Hall of Famer admitted when he was bad, which was, so John Smoltz, Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine, and Pedro Martinez, 4 of the greats of their generation, 4 Hall of Famers, just household names in baseball. Faced Tony Gwynn, another Hall of Famer, over 330 times over the course of their careers. Despite combining the 4 of them for 12,000 career strikeouts, they struck out Gwynn a combined 3 times. Huh. Now, remember that. I want everybody out there to remember that when they're not putting Tony Gwynn's name on the list of greatest hitters of all time. Because if 4 Hall of Famers that combine for over 12,000 career strikeouts can only strike him out 3 times, I don't know what other evidence you need that he was a phenomenal hitter. So hats off to Tony Gwynn. Hope you're looking down on the baseball world up there and trying to maybe incite some wisdom into the minds of these hitters.
Swing, bada, swing.
Yeah, seriously.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
that just shows how dominant of a hitter he was. He was just.
I wonder how he was against Randy Johnson, though.
Ooh,
I don't think he did that bad.
12,000 strikeouts. No,
He struck out 12,003 times in his career. All the other 12,000 were Randy Johnson. No, I don't know if Gwynn I don't know if he ever hit below like 250 against anybody. He's that good. Yeah. I want to say his career batting average is over 300.
If you want your answer there, Randy Johnson had the most success against Tony Gwynn, striking him out 4 times in 12 appearances.
Oh,
wow.
no.
Randy.
There's your
wow.
So, Trey, you're saying Randy Johnson was able to lock down Tony Gwynn, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, you know what I want to hear get locked down? Jamie's locks of the week. Jay, take it away.
Bring it into my corner, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to your locks of the week here. Grandpa Jay here on behalf of Cinco Squad. I'd like to let you know if you played last week, you would have won. And that was me telling you guys, you got to take the Lions with the points. I told these guys, hey, they're going to win outright too. Way to go, Detroit football. One of my bonuses hit. The other one, Mikey, we won't get into that. So we'll just move straight into my locks of the week this week, brought to you by Fans Idea, Cinco Squad 10. Use the discount code. You see my boys up there on the top, John and Mikey. Jersey you're seeing flaunted all so long. That's the kind of merch you can get. The quality is great. It's stitching. You can do embroidery. You can put patches. You can get 2 different colors. You name it, they'll do it. Get on Fans Idea. I know you guys are going to figure out something you can wear and be proud of during the season here. But let me tell you what you guys can do to make that money to buy those jerseys is take this lock of the week. Now, Colorado State. People are jumping on the prime train, and why not? Colorado looks great, don't they? Of course they do. Now, homecoming affair here. First rivalry game against the Rams. Colorado State is coming in off a bye week. So you might think, all right, well, maybe they had a week to rest. Maybe they might be rusty. They also benched their starting quarterback, Clay Millen. They brought in redshirt quarterback, Braden Fowler-Nicosi, and he was great. Averaged over 10 yards a game and a pretty abysmal showing against Washington State, who pretty much packed it in the fourth quarter. So, of course, he's going to be facing a better, faster defense. But Colorado has Oregon and USC around the corner. And I don't think that Colorado State is coming into this one thinking they're going to get embarrassed by their state rivalries. In fact, I think they circle this game as the game of the year for them. So right now, that point spread is 23. Yeah, Colorado has to win by over 23 points, and I don't see it happening this week, ladies and gentlemen. So give me the Rams at plus 23. I do think Colorado pulls away at this point. Actually, I think they might be up 28 and then give up a late touchdown and end up winning by 3 touchdowns. So I see Colorado winning somewhere in the region of 48 to 27, somewhere around there. Going to be a lot of points scored, and I would love personally to see that defense give up less points. Didn't see it against TCU. Nebraska was flirting with moving the ball pretty easily in the first half of that game. So I see Colorado State putting some points on the board, at least late, if Colorado's up big. So take the plus 23, Colorado State. It's a lock. That's how it's going down this week. If you want a sexy pick of the week, though, if you want to go in on a little parlay here, the Bengals are going to bounce back and put the whooping on those Ravens. In case you guys didn't realize, Lamar struggled against the Houston Texans. Yes, the Houston Texans put Lamar Jackson in check last week. 169 passing yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, barely over 30 rushing yards. He didn't look like the former MVP, and I don't think he's going to look like the MVP against the Bengals in their homecoming. Who they, baby? Take the Bengals at plus 3.5 all day long, minus 3.5, excuse me. Don't touch that line with the Ravens. I know they competed against them in the playoffs last year. It ain't happening in week 2. Sexy pick of the week, Cincinnati Bengals minus 3.5. Lock of the week, Colorado State Rams plus 23. Put it in the bag.
All right, so here we go again. It's back to the load management talk. NBA finally puts out a new rule. First time you load manage is going to be a $100,000 fine for the team. The second time is going to be a $250,000 fine for the team. And the third time is going to be $1 million. each time you do load management, you're going to get an additional load management fine. Now, what they're identifying as load management is if you have 2 superstars, or I guess 2 stars that set out. 2 stars would be somebody that was all-pro or an all-star within the last 3 seasons. Some people call this the Kawhi Leonard and Paul George rule. It really ain't the Clippers rule. It's the Paul George rule. Why is the Paul George rule? Because Kawhi ain't going to play anyway. So Paul George, thank you, sir. Now you have to play more games because Kawhi is going to sit out when Kawhi wants to sit out. Now, the ironic part of this is the load management really started to kick off back when the Heatles were playing the Spurs, and Pop says, oh, I'm not going to send my 3 stars, Ginobili, Parker, and Duncan out to go play. When he does that, some people agree with it, thought it was a good idea, and we're like, oh, my God, let's praise Pop. That shit's stupid. Y'all should have been criticizing Pop then, and at the end of the day, that set a bad tone. It set a bad precedent. Now you got 15 out of 30 teams, and it's only 15 out of 30 that actually qualify for that, who have 2 all-star or former all-NBA players who even qualify for this rule. The irony is Pop doesn't have 2 people, so Pop doesn't have to worry about that. He can keep freely load managing. But at the end of the day, I don't know if this is really going to work because people are going to go up, make up injuries, say, hey, my hamstring's hurt, or, oh, it's just a light calf strain or something like that to make their players not play. Because if they don't want to play, they're going to sit out anyways, and they're going to make up fake injuries. Now, it's a damn shame, and the NBA players should be ashamed of themselves because people are spending a lot of money to go watch these players play. You got kids who look up to these players. I mean, even just for your own sake, at the end of the day, man, just try to play, come to work, try your best. If you can't finish the game and you out there with the flu, hey, look at Michael Jordan. That's what he did. He went out there, he played with the flu, and he did the best he could. So, come on, guys, just ball out. We don't need 40 rules to get everybody to get out there and play. Do this for the love of the game.
Well, as Trey just alluded to, locking down star players in the NBA, we're going to talk about how locking down recruits or locking down a good coach is critical for college football. So, Mike, take it away with our first topic of the week with, is being a good coach in college football or a good recruiter in college football pivotal?
Yeah, so this is I think this is a really good topic that Trey brought up, which was, because we've had over the years a lot of, even in the time that just we've been watching, a lot of good examples of both people that have been good recruiters, maybe not necessarily good, teachers or molders of the players into to make them that much better. And we've had good coaches that are good at getting people to the league and getting people to be better, but maybe had to pass the reins of bringing those kids in off to some of their assistants that maybe were a little bit better. It's tough for me, but I'm going to go with good coach. And the reason why I'm going to go with good coach is this. It is fantastic to be able to be a salesman and go into people's, these families and these kids' homes and at their practices and stuff and convince them to come to your school, to play for you, to want to play for your program, all that. But it's another thing when you get them on the field there and you get them integrated into your program. And I think it takes a good, and obviously all these kids, they want to go to the league if they can. So I think the most important role is to be able to mold these young men, both as football players and as people. And we've seen cases where that can't happen and these kids fall by the wayside, whether it be talent-wise or off the field issues. And so for me, I would rather have a good coach if I'm an athletic director, I would rather have a good coach for my program so that I know I can hand him essentially the keys to the car and go, take this as far as you can take it. Not just on the potential or the talent of the guys you're bringing in, but those depth guys that you're going to develop into championship contenders and winners in life. And so for me, I'm going to pick a good coach over a good recruiter. Trey, what do you think?
It would be the better. It's for me, it's recruiting. The reason it's recruiting is because recruiting is everything. It's not just recruiting players. I think what people get underrated is, and when you say recruiter, you think you're just recruiting players. A good coach can recruit other good coaches around them. So you take the example of Nick Saban and look at his staff. He gets in, he goes out and says, okay, I want to get Lane Kiffin. I want to get this guy. I want to get that guy. Whoever it is, he plugs in a good coach in a second. And also just being a good recruiter of a good coach means you get other coaches who can also recruit. So just a shout out a couple of quick thoughts. When I look at my Ohio State Buckeyes. We have one of the best D-line recruiters in Larry Johnson. He used to be the Penn State coach for years back in Paterno when they always had the great D-line. That was one of the best defensive line recruiters. Brian Hartline right now is probably the best receiver recruiter. He's at Ohio State right now. Then you look at somebody such as like a Dale McGee at Georgia, the underrated person. Doesn't really get talked about because people talk about Kirby, but Kirby has that guy on his staff who's the running back coach who always has him loaded up with a new running back because he's been out there for a while. So sometimes it's not just about being able to go out there and do the X's and O's. There's a certain point where I can coach my ass off, but if I just don't have enough talent on the field, I'm not going to win. If I put enough talent on the field, and even if I get subpar coaching, I'll probably confine myself to at least 10-2. Maybe if I got the right assistants, maybe if I recruited right and I get enough depth, now at the end of the season, you can be, let's say, a Georgia and beat, and let's say, Alabama, because maybe you just have more depth at the end of the year because you recruited so much depth. Also, with recruiting, which is underrated, is part of recruiting is being able to hold on to your people. So you look at somebody such as, and I know he's going to leave anyways, but like a Quinn Ewers bounces out of Ohio State. Part of Ryan Day's job is not just getting him there, it's also keeping him there, especially with the transfer portal. What Deion's done great is Deion is being able to walk into places, and not saying he's not a great coach, but he can walk right in your living room and take you from somebody else. After you already then jumped up, packed your bags, and took your family across the country, he's like, no, you're coming over to Colorado now. You're playing with me. You Travis Hunter, I got you. I'm taking you to Jackson State. I know you're the number one recruit in the country, but his mouth got that guy to go to Jackson State, even if he hadn't proven anything as a coach. And I do think Deion's a good coach, but at times he gets washed for that. I got an example, somebody like Dabo Swinney, and I'd be interested to know if y'all actually think Dabo Swinney's a good coach, because I actually don't think he's that good of a coach. Once Benevil's left, it hasn't been the same. So I guess what I would throw to you, Jamie, in part of your answers, I'm curious. With this being said, what do you think is right, and do you think Dabo Swinney specifically is actually a good coach?
I mean, the record speaks for itself. At this point, it seems that he has the gift of the gab because he knows how to get players to switch over to A&M because they're considering the caliber of players he brought in to have the number 1 and number 3 recruiting class over the past 2 years. They're probably considering Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, and of the lot, right? So the gift of the gab gets them there. But you're right. What are you doing to keep them on your campus? But I really think the answer for me is none of the above. At this point, with the NIL taking over the way college players make decisions, it's how good your boosters are and what connections they have in the business community that can convince X player to know that this is the right place for him because the price is right. I mean, here's how the landscape of college football is really like this, and it sucks. We're about to go into week 3 and week 4. When you get to week 4 and there's certain players who are promised X and Y, they're not getting PT, they're not on TV, they're not getting what was said by coaches. So they realize that they were sold and the game ain't being told, it's just being sold. So they don't have a chance to showcase their skills. They're getting calls right now from other schools. And those recruiters who can then move them through the transfer portal, those are the most influential people in college football right now because it's really becoming here today, gone tomorrow. So even the quality of coach won't keep the kids around, at least your top caliber players, because they're literally going to the coaching staff saying like, hey, Clemson can give me 50 grand. Can you match it? When does that ever happen in the landscape of college athletics? Never. So we're seeing a transition to college athletics where neither the quality of head coach nor how good the recruiting is going to keep you there. It's, can you pay me what I want? And if you don't have the booster club for it or you don't have the connections in the business community for it, then the players are going to bounce. But my biggest concern is how long can this last? Like, how long can these boosters play these out? Because what is the ROI for them? What is their return on investment? One team's going to win the national championship. And even if they do, that doesn't guarantee they're going to sell more jerseys, get more butts in the seat. Because take Florida, for instance, Florida's sold out. 90,000 people are showing up, whether they're 4-5 or fucking 9-3. That doesn't matter what their record is. Ain't shit to do in Gainesville, so they're going to show up. So my concern is, where's the game going to go at this point? And I don't think there's any coach good enough or any recruiter good enough to say, hey, if you stay here, you're guaranteed to go to the NFL, other than Saban maybe. But we've seen Alabama lose players in the portal too. So I don't know if I could sway either way. John, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, looking at that, looking at what you just said, I kind of disagree with it because I think it's only a small percentage of those people that they're going after that are saying, hey, if you come here, we're going to have this money for you. So I think that plays a factor for a very tiny percentage of the team. And especially like a football team that has 80-man rosters, you're persuading the 3 and 4 star guys that come out of nowhere, right? Like Trey's boy, Ben Roethlisberger, went to Miami of Ohio. In this day and age, he was like probably a 3-star recruit out of high school, maybe a 2. You would never notice. Now he's a Hall of Fame NFL player. Like you just don't know, right? So you're thinking because ESPN and all these sports 24/7 sports track and everything like that has all these rankings that, these players are going to be great, and then they end up turning out to be duds, right? So what I think plays a huge factor for these kids, and because knowing a lot of athletes, and I have a question for you, Jamie, after this as it is recruiting. Because a lot of these kids you're not only selling the kid, you're selling these kids' families. So you have to trust these families play a big factor in a lot of these kids' lives. So you hear, I want to get my mom out of the house that she's in. I want to get my dad, a new car. I want to do this and that for their parents, right? Go to the league and everything. So you're ultimately selling the family as well as the kid, because if the family's like, yeah, you should really just go to USC. Yeah, you should definitely go to like Toledo. Like we see a lot of places like Travis Hunter is a perfect example. He's a 5-star athlete. Could have went to Bama, could have went to Georgia, and to anyone. And he picked Jackson State because his family and himself felt comfortable with Deion. And he had no opportunity to win national championship, even if they went 12-0. And I think they did. No opportunity ever. So you have to be a good recruiter to go into the homes and have trust for this, because a lot of the times, like I know for Boeheim, like when he was coach, like I know we're going to basketball here, but for football, you're sending these coaches to these recruiters to different schools. The head coach is only going when it's a top caliber, right? Like if it's a Travis Hunter, the top 5 recruits, the head coach is going to these houses. Other than that, the recruiters are there. The D coordinators, the offensive coordinators. So you need to have these good people in your system to go in and make them feel trusted. I mean, there's a great line in Miracle, and I know Mike's going to love it, is the fact is when Herb Brooks announces the team and stands up on top and says, I will not be your friend if you have taken up with Doc or Coach Patrick. And that's a huge line, because I think the head coach has to separate himself from the team, because he has to do what's best for the totality of the team, where the defense and offensive coordinators are recruiting these kids to come here, and that's their like children in this sense. And the head coach, yeah, of course, loves out every one of his players, but these guys have to, he has to make the tough decisions to say, hey, Cam Newton, you fucked up. You got to go. And I'm not saying Urban Meyer's a great coach, but like he let Cam Newton go at the time, of all of the shit that was going on in Florida. You got to tell a kid, hey, I got to let you go because you did this wrong. Or, hey, I'm benching you. Like Ryan Day had a tough decision this week, with McCord to go announce him to go be the starting quarterback. That's only a thing a head coach can do, where an offensive coordinator maybe is real close with the other guy, and it's kind of tough for him to make that decision, right? So that's why we always say, like, this guy's a great – we have this conversation all the time that, this guy's a great offensive coordinator, but I can't see him being a head coach. Why? Because he gets in a good relationship with his players that are playing every day, and the head coach is the one that can come down and say, hey, you're not going to make the team type of thing. So I'm going to say recruiter, because I think that plays a huge factor. There's a bunch of factors that play in where I think the head coach doesn't, unless it's a game film. But the one question I have for you, Jay, is you were recruited at Division I, and same with you, Trey. You were recruited at high Division I. What was that experience like for you guys? Like when you guys were getting people coming to your living rooms, talking to your moms and dads and whatnot. So, what was that experience like? And like, whoever wants to go first, you can go first. Because I think it's real interesting that you two were heavily recruited, one for football, one for swimming. So, what played a factor for you to go to which school if you were going to go?
Well, I'll go first. Swimming doesn't have the money for them to travel and the luxury for them to show up in living rooms. So there's a lot of phone conversations and emails back and forth. And a couple of emails went to my dad. He had some opinions of what I should do. His thinking was go to somewhere less competitive in year one, try and be a stud on the team, and then use that as a platform to get recruited. That would have been Kenyon College, and then Miami of Ohio was recruiting as well. Clemson was making an offer, and then I chose Kentucky for 3 reasons. One was I love the school and basketball second to none, and I grew up a huge basketball fan. The other one was I had 2 other friends from my club team go there, and one who went to high school with me, and so it just seemed like I'm going there with my boys. So that's a great decision to go in already having family and support. And then they threw 50% on the table in year 1 with an offer to jump up to 75 if I performed after my freshman year, going into my sophomore year, into junior year. There was a tier. So I was like, all right, well, once I perform, I'm tearing myself into not paying anything by the time I'm a senior, which puts a huge, relief on me and my parents when I come up, in terms of how the finances had to be handled and everything like that. But it was a pretty cool experience because you're hearing from a head coach why you could be of value to what they're trying to build and what they're doing. So it makes you feel like, shit, I did something right. Like this time was worth it. The sacrifices are worth it. The times I said no were worth it. Like somebody is literally telling me I'll pay $25,000 a year for you to come to this institution. It makes you feel like you're valued, for someone to feel like, they value you as a key piece to build the future of their team. And of course, they want you to perform now. A lot of times they're talking about the future. The Kentucky coach's key line for me was, you're a diamond in the rough, and we want to see that diamond shine. Nobody else spoke, talk the talk like that for me. So I was like, all right, the guy sees that I'm I was more a late bloomer at that point because I had a little trough, a little plateau in my early teenage years. So he saw the light at the end of the tunnel more than others were kind of like, well, can you perform now? He was like, we'll give you time, because they had really good seniors who were swimming my events. It was an awesome experience.
So I guess for me, where we're a little bit different at is because Jay actually did end up going to college to play his sport. I actually ended up not going to college to play my sport. And I kind of knew going to senior year I really want to do it. Then I tore my knee up. I'm like, no, I got the grades. I'm not really pressed to keep doing this. But the crazy part for me was at the time was I'm telling coaches, no, I'm done. I'm just going grades. I'm like, no, just come here. We'll get it together. We don't matter if you got to get this meniscus together and all this. I'm like, look, I'm not playing anymore. I'm like, not even playing. I'm still getting calls and letters. And I'm like, dude, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm done. So that was like a crazy factor for me. We used to go to a lot of different visits for a lot of colleges, like even as a team, where we would maybe go to like a Nike camp here, or go to like University of Pittsburgh, wasn't too far, go out to like a Nike camp there, or go down like Kent State or somewhere. And we would see all these kids out, and some of the other athletes were already in there. And it was always interesting just to watch how certain people got flocked to more than others. Some maybe got flocked to because of your teammates. So like I was good, but I had a couple teammates. I had a particular teammate who actually ended up going to the NFL, for a little bit, and a couple other guys who went and played, and actually did, and decided to go play high college. And sometimes they would use you to try to get to, and you ever look at you as like a 2 or 3 star, and be like, hey, well, I'm gonna use you, try to get cool with you to get up to that 4 or 5 star that plays right next to you on the D line, or you're a receiver, and I wasn't a receiver, I played defense, but we're going to recruit you with the other receiver because we know that's your homeboy. Or like Ohio State did it with McCord, with Harrison. That's deep down how he ends up going there. So that, for me, that was always kind of an interesting thing. But for me, being on the side of the athlete, I was all about not the coach X and O's. I was about the coach, kind of what John said, who can walk in your family. I told John this many times. I'm watching college football, and I'm like, yeah, that coach right there, I'll go play for him. And then we look at somebody like Brian Kelly. I'm like, nah, I wouldn't play for that dude. Like, I don't give a damn what his X's and O's is. I think that dude's a snake. So I'll be like, I'm not doing this with him, with certain people. Because I know for me, I actually experienced similar to what Cincinnati experienced. Actually, at the same time, my coach, going to my senior year, after we ended up not making the states, he ends up bouncing from another team and basically just left us high and dry, kind of like how Brian Kelly did with them. So I always looked at him crazy and thought in my head, if that dude ever walked in here, I'm not, no, I don't trust you like that. So yeah, I said in our topic that I thought the coach and recruitment, everything, but the recruitment for me is, yeah, do I trust you? Does my mother trust you? You're 18, you're leaving home for the first time. In a lot of these cases, like somebody like Jamie, for example, Jamie went a long way away to college. Like he is going to a state far away where I don't know if Jamie knew anybody in Kentucky. If he did, it wasn't that many people. And I got to trust this adult with my child at that point. So there's something to being a good recruiter, being able to look somebody in the face, because in the NFL, the NBA, and these places, you're a 20-something-year-old, 30-something-year-old man. You got your own family. You can look me in the face, lie me, whatever, but you're 18. You are very impressionable. This is your first time away from home. So it's something about being able to look me in the face and make me look at you as a second father figure, mother figure, if it's a woman's coach, whatever. And that means a lot.
I think the biggest thing. I think the
It's
biggest
interesting
thing
you said that. Hold on 1 second, John, because I feel like you had a counterintuitive argument because you said recruiter, but a lot of what you leaned in on was the athlete eventually trusting the coach and the coordinators acting as like that father figure, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to feel that person as a father on your recruiting trip. You're not. It's going to end up being a genuine feeling because they welcome you to the locker room. They welcome you to the system. You feel welcomed on the campus. You feel heard. You feel seen. That happens over time. So I feel with your argument, you are finessing the idea that the coach plays a much bigger role once on campus to let that kid feel that they made the right choice. Yes, the recruiting
to an
got
extent,
them,
the reason
right?
I say that now,
But it's kind of like that's how I felt your argument leaned in more towards the coaches are the ones that are doing the better job of making the kids feel valued.
Yes, to an extent, that's part of recruiting, but especially when you look at today's transfer portal, because that might be the difference of you not transferring, is because that coach can look you in the face and talk to you. Like I remember, I know I keep referencing Ohio State, but I remember the whole conversation of when Cardo Jones was going to leave, him and Urban Meyer having to sit down and have a conversation about should he stay, or John's used this example many times, even in basketball, about how Boeheim told Carmelo, "You're leaving," and Carmelo's like, "Well, I think I'll go." Like, "No, you're leaving." And eventually, and it's mostly at the top level, but being able to have a relationship to trust your coach now to even have what's best for you, which is something that holds when you're there. And that's especially important now with the transfer portal, because if I do get there and you've now finessed me, now I'm more likely to transfer. See, that's why Travis Hunter, Deion could have left, and Travis Hunter could have been like, you know what, I'm not going to Colorado. I'm going to go ahead and go to Bama. But he's like, no, I like that guy. I'm going to keep following him.
Right.
As he leaves.
And Deion sucked as a coach, and he wasn't winning, and he wasn't showing out that he's the best in the country because that system wasn't proving that. His ass would have been gone after year one.
I don't.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, like, here's the thing, right? So, and that was one of the examples I was going to bring up is you don't bring 88 guys into a brand new school, especially Colorado. Colorado being in the Pac-12, well, for now, like Pac-12, because they're going to the Big 12 next year. He ultimately, when you think of high schools like that, you're not thinking of Colorado in the Pac-12. You're thinking USC, Oregon, stuff, teams like that, right? Mm-hmm. So him choosing Colorado, and especially it gets cold there. I was there last year in September, and it was like 40 degrees in September. So it ain't warm there all the time. So bringing them from, I think Jackson State's in Mississippi, right? Jackson, Mississippi. So bringing from the south all the way up there, like that's impressive. I mean, in my opinion, to do that and bring all the players in there, he's got a selling point. What?
Mississippi, Colorado.
Well, you're in
a hard sell for too many people. Colorado's a beautiful place.
It's a beautiful place, but it's not for everyone, especially when you're living in the South. Like, you're living in pretty much warm temperatures year-round.
You're right. Easier for your family to get to games and stuff like that, too. So,
well, especially if you're playing at Jackson State, most of the guys are there. But I think the one thing that I love is because, I am in sales, and the biggest thing I like to do is be as honest as I possibly can be with everyone. And I think that's the biggest thing, right? Being a recruiter is being a seller, right? So you have to sell your school. Anyone, especially if it's a lower school, like, let's just say Toledo or something like that. Like, you got to sell that school. If you go in when you're like Kentucky, Duke, Georgia, Alabama, they're going to be like blown away by the name. But you got to feel that comfort with that person. You know what I mean? So, I think, being a good recruiter is key, but I also think it's pivotal, like you said, Jay, is when you get on campus, can I trust this coach?
Right.
And that's where you see the transfer portal go, is they're already scarred a little bit because they're transferring, right? The coach already promised them the world, the NFL, Hall of Fame, greatest player of all time, and now I'm leaving this school. What am I going to do now? Right? So I don't know. I get what you're saying, but I think being a good recruiter is definitely pivotal in that aspect because you have to get them there.
Yeah, so. And I think honestly, hearing, because I hear you guys almost convinced me that recruiter is more important because like you can make very, strong, valid arguments. And I think really all of this adds up to me and makes me realize really the best coaches are both. Like,
for sure. Yeah.
That's where we see the separation of the good coaches, the great coaches, and the Hall of Fame coaches, where it's, like we said before, some guys are good recruiters, some guys are good coaches. The upper echelon, the 1% of 1% of college coaches are both. And I think that's what all of our arguments kind of speak to, is like there's importance in all of it, whether you value more recruiter side like you guys, but more the coach side. Then you get those guys that are both, and it's like, okay, now it's not only a guy that can get me in the door in a sales pitch style, like at home with my parents and convince my parents to trust them, because that is a big thing. But it's also I feel comfortable with him when I get on campus, in both playing for him, playing in his system, doing the things he needs me to do, the way he approaches getting me to do the things he needs me to do, and makes me want to stay. Especially, and I was actually going to ask, but you guys kind of answered the question about how does the transfer portal affect this, and how has it changed the game as far as what you need to be. And honestly, it probably has skewed it more towards a recruiter, because the options, the rules have now give you options to go. I mean, you can get 2 transfers now, so you can go where you want. So it's bringing, whether it's a transfer or incoming freshman, you have to be able to convince them to come, because the options are more open.
Yeah. I mean, in the transfer portal, like before they just made that rule, it used to be the Wild Wild West. Now it's like guys are transferring every single year going to, the dude from Georgia went to 6 schools in 4 years. So
that's what I mean. So I feel like
Daniels,
you make the decision on a whim a lot more now, because you don't lose a year.
Well, now you do.
Transferred in or out of conference, it doesn't matter. So.
Yeah.
Now you do, because now you can only do it once, and then you have to sit out a year. Reason why Mac Brown is all pissed off about the receiver for North Carolina, because he's now got to sit out a year because he already transferred once. So
$40 million. $40 million gets us that? Are you serious? Daniel, I have been the biggest proponent of having you on this team and having you be the starting quarterback. I have defended you up and down on this show, on other shows, outside of the internet, on the internet and comments and all. I have been your biggest defender. But what the hell was that? Are you serious right now? 40-0 to the goddamn Cowboys? Are you serious? You couldn't even, I understand you were running for your life, and that's all well and good. The line needs to be better. But those throws were god awful. You made rookie mistakes. This is your 5th year, man. What the hell? If this is the season, just don't play. Let Tyrod play, because that was absolutely god awful. And if you do this against the Cardinals this week, I might just have a freaking heart attack. All right.
Speaking about potentially Danny being in the booth here soon, we're going into NFL here, and who you guys think would be a great guy in the booth, as we hear all these analysts like Tony Romo starting to weed out, as we hope so. Who would you think is going to be the next guy in the booth currently playing in the NFL? Trey, throw it over to you.
So I guess I'll say he's a little bit off the board, but he's not super off the board, because he's not like a super face in the NFL, but he's known enough. So the guy I'm referring to, he's a one-time All-Pro first team, two-time All-Pro second team, 8-time Pro Bowler. He also was on the 2010 All-Decade team. So he actually has some accolades. He was, for his team, a nominee for the Walter Payton Man of the Year. His father played in the NFL for 13 years. He has a lot of interesting comments, and some of his comments, and I actually read you a couple, like just quotes from him. So a couple years ago, the guy's playing the Jets, and he says, against the Jets, that was one of the teams you're like, oh, they're only giving out wins over there. They're giving out stats for everybody. Another quote he did recently, coming out talking about Kyle Pitts. Yeah, he's a little light in the ass to be a tight end. So this guy's like very blunt with how he talks. So the guy I'm referring to is actually Cam Jordan. Cam Jordan for the Saints. A lot of people don't. He's kind of underrated, because Cam Jordan actually, he's starting to get more commercials. Cam Jordan has a podcast. He's vocal enough. And I think he's a guy doesn't bite his tongue, so he's going to keep it real. One of the first things that really made me pay attention to Cam Jordan was a few years back. I remember he had this comment where he's like, Big Ben is in the first ballot of fame. I'm like, what the fuck? And then he tried to explain why. Now, I disagree with him, but I respect the take because when he got done, I was like, he really believes this. And eventually, he actually walked back to comments a couple years later and said he did think Big Ben was. But the point was, I like that he was grounded. He's still on his tape. He's not scared to say what he's going to say. He's respecting the league. There was another story I was reading once where, like, when Lane Johnson for the Eagles was rehabbing, he actually reached out to him to ask questions about how to rehab and, different things about pain and what to do. So, like, a lot of players respect that dude on top of being an actually good player. And he's literally grew up in football, having his father be a 13-year pro. So, I just think Cam Jordan, I say Cam Johnson's basketball player. Cam Jordan would be very actually interesting off the board than just having your typical quarterback like we always do. It's like quarterback, or what else we always do? Cowboys player, because every time it's always a guy from Cowboys. Look in every booth. Look in every studio show. There's always at least one guy who's prominent for the Cowboys, whether it's Jimmy Johnson
or Steelers.
Or Steelers, but not as much as the Cowboys, because if you look at the booth, at one point they had Jason Witten was in the booth. You had Tony Romo on a different number, Troy Aikman on a different number. They all run the top broadcast team.
Mm-hmm.
Deion was on TV. Michael Irvin, Emmitt Smith, who sucked on TV, but he was there. Darren, what's his name? Woodson, the safety was in there. Keyshawn played for the Cowboys. Like everything, if you play for the Cowboys, you're gonna be in the booth. As a side note, before I pass this on, I don't think he's going to be great in the booth, but just know Dak Prescott will be in the booth because he was the Cowboys quarterback. So, it's automatic. With every cow, it is an automatic.
Garrett Aikman.
Yes. Think about it. It's an automatic. He'll be in the booth. But, John, who do you got? Who do you want to see up in the booth later in life?
So, I had like a few like out-of-the-box ones that you probably wouldn't think of for guys. But this guy, I was listening to him last year talk, and he was talking all season, and he was on his Instagram, always posting. I always think he had funny, lighthearted takes, but he would always be like interviewing his players, his teammates, and like going to the interviews. And some of the questions actually, like there was a few questions that he asked was like actually pretty like good questions. I was like, oh, that sounds like a reporter, but it's actually a player asking. And that is Marlon Humphrey of the Baltimore Ravens. I was listening, like I didn't think it at first, and I was like, "Oh shit!" I remember watching his videos when he was doing like all the videos with Lamar and who else? I forget who else, but it was just
Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram is
Mark Ingram, yeah.
So Mark Ingram does a lot with his podcast with Cam Jordan. Like he's another guy who's always around people.
So, and he just has a lighthearted spirit about him. I think he brings a different perspective to the booth as a corner, as one of the hardest positions on the field. And he brings a perspective that, he's played against some of the best in the AFC South. He can read systems. And I think it'd be interesting to hear his point. Plus, he's got like a lighthearted, spirit about him that I just think it'd be fun. I'll give you guys my runner-up afterwards, but Jay, who's your guy?
Man, this list it's really tough, right? Because there's so many players I feel that can do a great job. And right now, I think they've turned to Matt Ryan. I don't think he's the right personality. I just felt Matt Ryan was always such a low-key sort of guy. I don't think he brings enough energy to the table. I want to see somebody completely off the walls, like off the walls. So I'm going with George Kittle. Because I feel George Kittle is a guy, like an on-the-field guy that will ask the most crazy questions and earn the respect. First of all, he's fucking 6'5", 230, so ain't nobody going to disrespect him, right? I feel he's already earned his players' respect, but the passion he has, the energy he exudes during games, I feel he'll bring that as an on-the-field guy. He'll get the guys to loosen up. They'll probably say shit and have shit slip every now and again where it'll be, censored action right then and then. Like, guys, be ready to censor it on the spot. And I could see him literally doing crazy stuff like running on the field with players after a crazy play. I mean, I just feel he'll bring a certain energy to the game where he'll be must-watch TV every week. That's what I would personally want to tune into. Somebody whose personality for me is must-watch TV. So find a way to do it, George Kittle. I'm pretty sure Fox is going to welcome you to one given scenario of trying to get your toes wet, whether it's broadcasting or on field or whatever it might be. I mean, most of the time I use the ladies to get the guys' attention for the on-field interviews and the coaches and stuff like that. I would just love to see him walk up to the coach and be like, "Coach, what the hell were you thinking? Honestly, you're going to the running back when your tight end's wide open all half long? Like, come on, guy.
It'd be great to have him.
Well, you see, George,
It'd be funny to have him and then whoever is with Greg Olson and Greg Olson do a trio. That'd be hilarious. Because like Greg Olson's more like systems, like kind of complacent, kind of like easy going. But then you got Kittle being like, "What the fuck are you talking about, Greg? You know our position," like type of thing. And I feel like that's how it would be. It'd be like that camaraderie.
You don't want to say a run up, but my run up, who I think would be great for.
I was just waiting for Mike.
Mike's not going to say this name. Mike Tomlin.
If we were picking coaches, actually, that would have been my first choice.
No, but he is active. I mean, he is active. Yeah, coaches do go to the booth, so.
Yeah. So for mine, he would. I was actually thinking that earlier. I was like, man, we're picking. I know I'm picking a player, but if I was going to pick a coach, 100% it'd be Tomlin.
Yeah.
Player wise, like you said, there was some good choices, some kind of off the board choices, and I discovered one. I'm not gonna lie, I went through ESPN and just went up and down depth charts just to like, okay, what name am I gonna forget that I should say? And I came across one that was very interesting to me, and I made sure to go to YouTube and listen to some interviews and press conferences with him to hear how well he's spoken. So I chose a guy. I did go the conventional route of a quarterback, but I chose kind of an off-the-board quarterback that you might not think of. Former first-round pick, has been dealing with adversity for a majority of his NFL career, became a journeyman, but has made sure to become grounded and become a very trusted part of the QB room for multiple teams. And so I feel like between the adversity and the different teams he's been on, I think he has a lot in his career to speak to, and that is current Detroit Lions backup quarterback, Teddy Bridgewater.
Nice.
I don't know if you guys have ever heard an interview or a press conference or anything with him. He's very well spoken, very clear with kind of what he's meaning, but very direct to like how he feels and how he views things. And I think, like I said, with the unfortunate injuries that essentially derailed the potential of his career to start off with the struggles he had integrating into the NFL from college football, I think there's a lot that he'll be able to, like as a color guy in the booth, touch on as far as relating to people's situations, whether it be injuries, troubles with young players with plays and getting into the league and things like that. And so I think if you paired him with a good play-by-play guy, I think they could make a really good team as far as being able to tell the full story of an NFL game. So my choice is Teddy Bridgewater.
I wish I would have remembered what I heard on SportsCenter the other night, because someone hit a home run and I was like, I can't believe he just used that reference. Like the reference was so off the walls. I'm like, yo, they don't care at the mothership anymore.
No, they don't.
That would be like,
I was watching the Pat McAfee show. Yeah. And like he was talking. I was watching it today, and all of a sudden he's just looking down for like 3 minutes, and he's just sitting there, not saying no one's saying a word, live on air, and he's just like reading a text. He's like, "Oh fuck, sorry." Like he went back to what he was saying. I was like, "Oh, they just don't give a shit at ESPN anymore." All right, cool. And then and then Skip and Shay, Uncle Shay, keep calling him Skip.
Yeah.
Stephen A.
Stephen A. keeps getting called Skip.
But Stephen A.
Old habits die hard.
Well, they look just alike, clearly.
But I get it, like for like when you're in the heat of the moment, like he was with Skip for like I agree with Stephen A. because Stephen A. stood up for him. It was like, he was with him for 7 years, and like when you get in a heated argument, like and you're across the table, you just automatically go back to that comfort. It'll get to Stephen A. But it's like everyone's ripping on him. It's like, that's not Stephen A. That's not Skip. What are you talking about? And whatnot. But
old habits die hard.
But my runner up, and I think they'll do it on a simulcast, like kind of like what they do for the McAfee. This is the Kelce brothers. I think they'll put them.
I swore you were going to pick Jason.
I thought you were going to go with Jason Kelce.
Yeah. No, because I just watched this documentary, and I think he just likes doing a podcast, and that's it. Like he has like a cow farm. He does like other things, like, and now he's just doing a podcast and stuff. So like, I don't think he would want to get up there. I mean, for the right price, right? Now all these announcers are getting paid $15 million.
Yeah.
So Trey, what was your running up?
Honestly, I thought about the Kelce. The only reason I figured you were going to use Kelce, so I probably use him because of that. The other person was Kittle, and the other person who was on my list was Jamal Williams, actually, because he is, from what I've heard, all accounts, like good in the locker room. The interviews I've seen with him, especially last year in Detroit, he always seemed like really intriguing. And what I always say with whether it's like announcers or coaches, a lot of times the guys who are kind of like somewhat journeymen, but always seem to be like a leader in the locker room, those always seem to be the guys who end up being good on air, like the guys who are kind of like a backup, but they're still like a very important part of the team because they're like just good enough that you respect them, but also just enough not the guy that they're still kind of humble. And somewhere that balance a lot of times is making for a lot of good announcers, also good coaches too a lot of times.
That's what interested me about Bridgewater. It was just like, okay, all these teams have brought him in as a backup. There's got to be something.
Something about him people keep messing with.
Other than the Jets situation, because wasn't that where he got drafted?
He got drafted to the Vikings.
He's Vikings draft. Yeah.
Who got punched in the face of the Jets?
That was Geno
Smith.
Geno Smith. Okay,
by Ekpale or something like that. The guy that got traded to the Bills because of it.
You're closer than I am, so. But yeah, I think all those guys play a good factor. I also had Tyreek Hill on there because he's like kind of been doing his podcast. He like talking, but I think he just talked crap. But I think he's more on the analyst side. I think he would be in his
studio.
Yeah,
he'd be studio. Yeah,
kind of like he. And you have to get him with the right like pairing of that. So, yeah. And speaking about the worst scheduling game, how has the Chiefs not played the Dolphins? They play them in London. Do you believe that? I just saw that. I think we discussed this. I think we talked about it when they came out a few months ago. But I just like I was just looking through the schedule and I was like, God damn, why would they do that? That's like
wasted.
Because they finally want to give the London fans a game that they can share. They sent Jacksonville there for fucking 5 years and they sucked every time.
But Jacksonville's good now.
And I'm saying, so then now they've flipped the schedule where it's like Jacksonville will be entered and they're like, okay, we have to give the fans some side. They have to know that there's some offense to this freaking.
Can't we just get them preseason
thing? No. Right, so.
Yeah, really.
Can we just get them preseason games and let the actual home team keep their actual home games instead of taking one out?
Right. No, because they want to put a team in London.
Yeah, so
but Trey, it's the same argument. It's going to be the same argument about NBA starters need to be playing certain games. The quality of those games would suck.
I told you about this earlier.
Top players. I know nobody wants to go there and see a series by the number one QB. I told you about that
30 minutes ago when I was ranting about the Spurs.
Yeah,
I ran it a week 30 minutes ago and how I was sick of everybody not giving Popping them enough shit for, when they were back in Miami being like, oh, we're going to sit the people. Let's give them great stuff. The NBA players should play. I do think teams should have their home games should be at home.
Especially how much tickets are.
Especially how much tickets are. You're a season ticket holder. Like, let me get on my games, please. And nobody really wants to go play in London. I mean, no. Like,
maybe they're giving a season discount minus the one game, so it's more affordable. I don't know.
Nobody enjoys.
There's $100 off.
Nobody.
That Chiefs Dolphins ticket would probably go for $500 right now.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, just wait for the Berlin Thunder and Frankfurt Galaxy expansion season.
If I was drafted there,
shout out to NFL Europe.
I would be requesting that trade the moment they draft my ass to Germany.
Fuck NFL.
Get me back to America.
Why? It brought us Kurt Warner.
Yeah, he took his ass back to America and enjoyed it.
He was in the CFL in the Arena League.
Yeah, at least that's up top.
NFL Europe.
I'm not trying to go play
in the Arena League.
All right, let's move on to the Stump the Squad. I'll intro it. So,
all right, ladies and gentlemen, the time has come for the WNBA playoffs. Is anybody that excited for it? I'm not sure. Promotion just kind of started recently. ESPN is pushing for it. And I would go as far as to say that the women game has been elevated a bit. And here's why. There are now two super teams in the WNBA. The defending champs, Las Vegas Aces, who are now pursuing their second title in a row. No team's ever done that one before. Have a tough test ahead of them because the New York Liberty came on stronger than any team towards the end of the year, thanks to MVP Breanna Stewart, who beat out Asia Wilson by 1 vote to win the MVP. Now, the reason why I'm questioning the WNBA's motive here is for trying to position themselves in that sort of aura of, hey, when the finals come around and we have the best possible quality of women's basketball we can deliver to you, why don't you watch? Well, here's why. You schedule the first game on October the 8th. In case you guys don't know what that is, it's a Sunday. Why would you put game 1 on a Sunday to compete with the NFL? That makes no sense if you're trying to promote the women's game. So whoever did that for schedule purposes, I don't care if the TV said all we could do is this. That's bullshit. You should have tried harder and used your bargaining power to say, no, we need it on October the 6th on Friday when there ain't shit going on. So everybody has a chance to at least tune into game 1 and get hooked. Because I'm telling you, man, these two teams play a incredible brand of basketball for women's teams. You got 4 women ranked in the top 10 right now in terms of players left in the playoffs. We got Wilson, you got Young, Gray, and my favorite Plum. And on the other side, you got Brianna Stewart, and then you have Sabrina Ionescu, who can't miss a shot when she's on fire. And I'm telling you guys, the quality of basketball is great, but who cares at this point? Because you're not going to get anybody to turn football off and watch game 1. So WNBA, shame on you for not doing better.
All right. Well, speaking about championships and series, it looks like we're going to get to our Stump the Squad. Grandpa Jay is taking a 4-1-0 lead. Grandpa Jay, take it away.
And as the wheels keep turning, 5 spokes on many wheels. We're going for number 5 this week. Welcome to Stump the Squad, boys and girls. Welcome back to the best segment in podcast, radio, streaming, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to listen to us on. It don't matter. We're in your ears right now. We're about to play Stump the Squad. That's when we pretend we don't know everything about sports, so you feel good about yourselves. So here we go. Week 6 of our new format. John and Trey finally going to get a win. To get a win, you have to score the most points.
Sure.
If you get it wrong, you get -2. If you get it right, you get +2. Like I said, Mikey and I are the only ones on the board. Everybody else playing catch up to Grandpa Jay right now. I know Mikey's probably been preparing for this by going through every possible fact from 1936 up to current date. So we might not stump Mikey today. But I'm actually rooting for John and Trey, to be honest, because I want one of you guys to get on the board today. So I'm going to let one of you guys answer the question first. Trey, I never choose you first. I'm going to go first with you.
Okay, so we're going to talk about my Ohio State Buckeyes today. Why? Because John's wearing a Michigan hat. So we're just going to change my whole question because I want him to talk about Ohio State. But, okay, so very rarely does Ohio State lose when they play against teams from the state of Ohio. This week or last week, Ohio State beat Youngstown State, former team of Jim Tressel, one of our greatest coaches of Ohio State history. So my question for you all is, when was the last time the Ohio State Buckeyes lost to an Ohio team? Okay, so we have 1917, 1921, 1967, 1971.
Holy shit.
67.
So, it's 42 years ago. If it's 71, that's crazy.
So we're going 1967 for Mike?
Yeah, 67 for me.
What's the bottom 2?
So I'll just give you all 4 again.
Okay.
1917, 1921, 1967, 1971.
21.
I was 67.
1921.
So we have a 67 for Mike, 67 for John.
I have a feeling it's been over 100 years.
And a 1921 for Jamie.
Yep.
Okay, so successfully today, I have stumped. I'm so sick of Jamie. John and Mike.
God damn it.
Come on.
Yes, 1921 was the last time Ohio State lost to an Ohio team. They lost to Oberlin College in that game 7-6.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
What a barn burner.
Yes.
I haven't got a question right in 4 shows.
You still got 3 questions.
Yeah,
Bro, I think you should just become the question. I think you should just ask the questions and just be the host of Stump the Squad.
And that's where we're going to go now. So, John, you were going to ask the next question. We're going to prolong your losing streak a little bit longer.
I'm gonna look down and all of a sudden there's gonna be a negative. What? All right, so Drew Brees holds the record for how many pass attempts in one game? How many pass attempts in one game?
Are we talking about college or are we talking about
Oh, I'm sorry, college. Yes. Sorry.
Okay. I was like,
86, 81, 83, 75.
83.
Mike says 81.
what was the choices again?
86, 83, 81, 75.
81.
83.
And today I've successfully stumped Mike and Trey.
God damn it.
Fucking A.
He's
I know I
cheating.
should have said 82.
I swear to God.
He already fucking
I should have said it because he said it. I only said 81 because of Kobe. I figured we would get these shots.
I was just pretending not to be Kobe for the first freaking 70 shows.
Yeah, I figured.
I just went into Mamba mode.
So Jamie's up 4. Mike, you're at -4, and me and Trey are at -2. So Mike, take it away. 2 people left.
Okay. This isn't even fun anymore.
I know.
Uh,
How do you think we felt like that whole freaking month of April, May, and June?
yeah, but I like being the one that's doing the winning. That's the fun part. Okay, so which team had the furthest drop in the recruiting ranks the year after they had the number 1 class? So this is the following season after having the number 1 ranked recruiting class, who had the furthest drop in the rankings for the next year's class? Was it 2009 Miami, 2010 LSU, 2011 Florida, or 2008 Florida?
2010 LSU.
2011 Florida.
Okay, so we got a 2010 LSU for Jamie, 2011 Florida for Trey. John?
I'm gonna go. It's 10 I think was Saban. 11 was right after Urban. I'm gonna say 2011.
2011 Florida?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a 2010 LSU and a 2011 Florida.
Yep.
Today, I have successfully stumped, thank God, the squad.
Oh, fuck. How was that? Thank
I thought
God.
it was Urban. That's why I said 2011 because I knew Urban just left.
2008.
2009 Miami.
You
Went
know what's so
from
funny? Before you asked the question, Miami popped in my head, and I should have trusted my gut on that. As Miami's the
I'm
first
glad
team
you
that
didn't.
popped into my head.
God
Damn.
damn.
Glad you didn't.
Damn.
Yeah, they dropped all the way from 1 in 2008 to 16 in 2009.
Mhm.
All right, Jamie, you're up next.
And the wheels keep on turning, boys. All right. I am actually staying very current with my question.
Mhm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And what I'd like you guys to let me know is Josh Allen leads the league in interceptions over the past 3 seasons. How many does he have, including the ones he already threw this season?
Oh my God.
Is it 37, 39, 42, or 44?
42.
42 is my answer.
Yeah, 42.
I made it so easy so all of you can get points. Well done, gentlemen. I stumped nobody.
Oh,
to get
don't
the
you
answer.
patronize us.
He had
I-
39.
And
He had 39 over the past 3 years, and we know he had 3 on Monday night.
Yeah,
fun fact that I just heard that earlier today, and he also leads the league since 2019 or 2020 in touchdown passes with 137.
Nice.
So this week, Stump
Hold
the
on.
squad
One more
winner.
fun fact. He's also never won an overtime career in his game.
No.
Won
0
an
and
overtime
5.
game in his career.
Game
Yeah.
is
He's,
One more
So-
fun fact. He's Mr.
Yep.
January according to Tony Romo. And he's never actually made it to a Super Bowl.
One
Well,
more
this-
fun fact. He's in a bunch of Wegmans commercials.
So do we have a tie right now?
No, you won. That's what I was trying to
Oh,
get
wow.
to, Mr. Fucking Fun Facts.
Shouldn't have deleted his
week
picture.
76
Yeah,
champion is Jamie for the 5th time.
Ninko.
I mean, I'm just happy I got a question right. I was on a bad streak.
You're welcome, John.
So
See, now you're gonna win the
Jamie
next
now
one.
is up. Jamie is up 5. Mike 1. Trey and I with a goose egg. So congrats, Jamie. Well, Jamie's the winner this week, but I think we're all winners. Fellas, any final thoughts before going into the weekend?
Yeah, man. Premier football is back. Take me across the pond. Let's go Liverpool.
Go Birds. Go blue.
Giants. Go get.
Go orange.
Go get.
Actually, you
your
know what?
jerseys.
You know what? Let's go Baker Mayfield. 2-0 this week, baby.
Trey, any final thoughts?
Baker Mayfield fucking sucks.
Cut.
Yo, we need to open the show with that.
Thank you for tuning in. Make sure, of course, again, go get your jerseys at
Yes.
fansidea.com. We'll put the link here right again and in the description. Go get yourself 10% off Cinco Squad 10. If you want a Cinco Squad jersey, DM us with your favorite number and your whatever you want on the back. We'll get it for you. We'll let you know how much it is. So Cinco Squad 10, fansidea.com. Week 2 of the NFL, week 3 of the college football. We'll see you here next week for Cinco Squad. Hopefully, Trey and I can get a victory. Cinco Squad out.